Welcome back. Yes, we're still in my basement. We've just moved. I've been trying so hard to find a place in my house where I can like film properly. It's just too small and packed full of stuff. So for this series, we're going to have the brick wall. I think it's already working out better. Doesn't matter. Okay. Introduce the series. MD101. That's what we're going to be doing. People from the Discord are going to recognize this as the what do long because I'm really good at naming things. And it's basically just a little booklet that we made, like an information packet, um, explaining a lot of maladaptive daydreaming stuff. So this is going to be the like spoken word video format style of that written document. It's not written by professionals. It's just written by a bunch of people on the Discord, mostly me. So don't go thinking this is like a definitive, thing. And I don't plan any of my videos, so it might be a little bit all over the place, but this is what we're doing. I haven't decided if this will go out as a series of videos or as like one long video. I know I'm actively filming right now and still haven't decided, but whatever, I'm sure you don't care. So we'll start at the beginning, the most boring part that everybody already knows, MD defined. And maybe you don't know what MD already is, but if you're on this channel, I'm betting you do. Like, this channel doesn't go out to people who don't already know what it is. If you don't already know what it is, like, hi, welcome. I hope you learned something. It's just not my usual audience. Anyway, so MD is defined as extensive fantasy activity that replaces human interaction and interferes with interpersonal, academic, or vocational functioning. That's like official definition of it that you will find in its origin source, a 2002 paper by Ellie Somer, which I'll link below. And is the definition you can still find on, like Wikipedia or whatever. Anybody who's defining maladaptive daydreaming is going to use this definition, unless they're just talking from their personal experience. So, boiled down, we might say that maladaptive daydreaming is daydreaming that has a negative impact on your life. In order for something to be a disorder, it needs to cause distress or dysfunction. That's kind of covered by the maladaptive part. If you're not experiencing any distress or dysfunction, you're a non pathological immersive daydreamer. All maladaptive daydreamers are immersive daydreamers. It's not in that sentence that I said before. I guess it kind of alludes to it with the word extensive, but to be a maladaptive daydreamer, you need to daydream with a sense of absorption, of vividness, of immersion. They're not normal, fleeting, flat daydreams that are more typical of like, casual mind wandering and stuff. These are more like fantasy. They're vivid in some way. They're affect laden, which means emotional. They have depth to them. It's a normal trait to have, to be born with, so we believe. And then, most people will live just fine with it for the rest of their lives and like just have a really cool hobby or thing they can do or whatever. A really rich imagination. And then some of them will turn into maladaptive daydreamers because they rely too heavily on their MD to cope or something, and then it outgrows its ability to help you as a coping skill, and you're just all this left, like, it helped you get through the thing, but now it's just like, uh, uh, maybe we'll go over that in a different part. I can't remember. I didn't really look too closely at the contents, the table of contents. And then the other thing that makes it maladaptive daydreaming is that last part uh, that it interferes with academic, social, or vocational functioning. That's the distress and dysfunction part. So those are kind of the two things that you have to be a maladaptive daydreamer. Distress and dysfunction, sense of immersion, dissociative absorption, it's called. MD is also chronic and persistent, and it has a variety of other symptoms. The pacing, the music, the urges. Um, I have a whole other video on the diagnostic criteria. You do not need to have all the symptoms, it's you have to have the big ones and then like an additional one to meet the criteria for maladaptive daydreaming. But that's what it is. Recurrent, distressing, extensive, or absorptive. Now, is it a disorder or not? No, maybe, who knows? Like, that's where we're at. Who knows? We don't know. Science will figure it out eventually. Right now, MD researchers are kind of conceptualizing it as its own unique disorder. But, I don't know. They're not the be all end all of psychology like other hopefully other researchers will become interested in this topic and put their own skills to work on figuring it out, and at the end of it, hopefully it will be classified as something. You'll see around a lot of people saying MD is this, MD is that. It's just a coping skill. It's a behavioral addiction. It's dissociation. It's definitely a disorder. It's a symptom of other disorders. It's just a bad habit. Nobody knows. Well, I mean, in their heart of hearts, they might know for themselves, but nobody's got a stack of peer reviewed papers to back them up on that. I mean, a little bit, sure. Go check out the ICMDR. There will be listed all kinds of papers. There are papers talking about maladaptive daydreaming and OCD traits, maladaptive daydreaming as a dissociative disorder, maladaptive daydreaming as a behavioral addiction, maladaptive daydreaming and its relationship to ADHD. Hopefully, in the near future, we're actually going to have brain scans of people in maladaptive daydreaming states. It's an exciting time. But when you really boil it down, like, no, there is no solid body of work that we can point to and be like, that guy definitely figured it out, 100%. It is this. Soon, though, soon. What we know right now is that it's different from other types of daydreaming. It is different from the immersive daydreaming that I said. Well, it's not different from immersive daydreaming. We are immersive daydreamers, but we're the ones who experience the negative effects. Um, so it's not completely independent from immersive daydreamers. We are a subset of immersive daydreamers, and it's different from fantasy prone personality. How, Dimmer? Well, one's conceptualized as a personality trait, the other's conceptualized as a disorder. They're not really, you know, they're different things. They're just different things. But fantasy prone personality was never it was never meant to imply pathology. There's also some other weird things with fantasy prone. Like they believe in aliens and stuff, which maladaptive daydreamers don't tend to do. I know I said that weird with the alien thing, but like the fantasy prone personalities they're prone to magical thinking and like hypnotization, being hypnotized. They're easily hypnotized, I guess, as a group. Um, so they do have some weird, like, I mean, you can see the 80s like shining through. Yeah, my God, a lot of crack in the 80s. What else? It's also not delusions or anything like that. I don't know why people conflate those two. They're very different. You can go look up delusions on your own, but it's not daydreaming. They're not intrusive thoughts. There is a lot of rumination and a lot of dwelling, and sometimes the daydreams can be distressing, but generally the daydreams themselves are not the distressing part. It's all the other stuff that comes along, attached to that behavior. And they're not typical daydreams. They're not fleeting. They're not fleeting flights of fancy that you can just let go as soon as they come. The sort of, default that your mind sets to. A lot of maladaptive daydreamers say that they have both kinds of daydreams. They have the MD daydreams and they have regular normal daydreams that they don't care about, just like everyone else in the world does. So they're pretty easy to tell apart from those as well. So they're kind of their own little thing. But the main takeaway is the distress and dysfunction. That's really what sets it apart from all other things. And that is what we're going to talk about in part two, which I think will be a separate video. I think I just decided. I might be wearing the same clothes though. I don't know. I have to go make dinner. Whatever. I will see you eventually though. MD101, part two, distress and dysfunction.